Let's do this. Leroy Dragon!
Ladies, gentlemen, and Hyruleans of all ages, Tears of the Kingdom is finally released, and while I could go on for hours about the enjoyment I've gotten from the game already, even on the first day of release, that is not why you are here. You are here for cold hard facts. One specific fact: how do you get the Master Sword in Tears of the Kingdom? And it's a very reasonable question to have, considering not only is it the most iconic weapon in the entire series, it's also incredibly good to actually use, not only due to its infinite durability, but also its ranged light damage attacks. While it never breaks, if you do use it too much, it will need to recharge over the course of 10 real-life minutes, just like Breath of the Wild, but it's so strong that it's just more than fair enough that that's a thing, honestly. As for how to get it then, you may be surprised to know that you can actually get the Master Sword on as low as 4 hearts this time around, which is the exact amount that you have at the end of the tutorial island. In Breath of the Wild, you required way more than that, which made it require you to be much further in the game to get the Master Sword, but in Tears of the Kingdom, there is no heart requirement for this weapon at all. There is, however, a stamina requirement. So the very first step and the most important thing for your ability to get this weapon for yourself is to have 2 full bars of stamina. You'll be able to have this once you've completed 20 shrines across the world, excluding the first 4 from the tutorial, of course. 20 sounds like a lot, and it definitely does take a couple of hours, but especially if your goal is the Master Sword, the time investment is nothing compared to the reward. Bring these to any of the angel shrines and ask for stamina upgrades, where you can trade 20 of these light orbs for 1 full bar of stamina. To make this make more sense, I'll show you where the Master Sword actually is then. Yep. It's in a frickin' dragon. The Master Sword is in the head of a dragon, the light dragon specifically. The cool part of this is that the dragon is on the map from the second the game starts properly. It is always flying around, and it always has the Master Sword in it once you've lost the Master Sword yourself. It has a set path that it travels around the map, therefore technically the only requirement is to have that second bar of stamina, as you need that to actually pull the sword out itself. Realistically, the paraglider you also need just to make it simple to get to the dragon, but other than that, technically you can just wait along the path that it travels, which I'll put on screen now. It travels like this all the time. It's the only loop that it takes. It's a couple hours per circle, so it's not that fast by any means, but you can technically just wait at a high point along this path, like either the Great Sky Island, which is right above it, and look down for when you see the dragon pass, or you can just actually look up from the ground, because this specific dragon is actually low enough that you can see it quite easily from land, so it may even be easier to do what I did here: sit outside of a sky view tower along the path on the map that I showed, sit there staring up, and eventually you'll see the dragon pass over you and fly up past the tower. Then you should go up the tower yourself and then glide down to the dragon. Once on the dragon, the sword is in its head, and you just have to hold onto it until it's released. Simple as that. Then a memory will play, which I won't be spoiling here, and you'll get the Master Sword. That's what I referred to earlier as the crazy way of doing it. You have no way of knowing where the dragon is on his loop this way. It can be anywhere in his 2-hour circle. It's just sort of silly to do, but it is absolutely possible. And I know some people will want to try that method, especially as it is by far the easiest of the methods, and arguably the fastest as well, as long as you are happy to just sort of sit in one location staring at the sky for a couple of hours straight. Second up then is the long but easy way, which is through the Geoglyph mechanic. I won't go too deep into this one, as it is basically, hey, just explore the entire map, but once you have found all of the Geoglyphs across the map, it'll tell you where the dragons are at, which, while helpful, is much later in your gameplay experience, and we want to be getting our hands on this beautiful weapon. Ideally, you want to have it for the journey, not at the end of it. With that then, that leaves us with one more option: quick but challenging. For this, you'll want to be decently kitted out. We've got a video on the channel already that can help you get a pile of relatively strong gear super early in the game that I highly recommend checking out, especially for this. And then aside from that, you want a nice big pile of arrows. You want gemstone ores like rubies and sapphires. You don't need that many of them, only 4 or 5 total across the different types, so a very light requirement there, really. Then you want a nice stock of Gibdo bones. Before you finish the Thunder Temple in Gerudo Desert, the Gibdo enemies will actually spawn all over the place in the northwestern side of the Gerudo Desert. They are super weak to anything elemental, which makes them real easy to defeat even early in the game, even if you have bad gear, and when you kill them, they'll drop a Gibdo bone. Some random weapons will occasionally drop as well, and if you're lucky, you'll get some arrows back too. What the Gibdo bones do that make them so good is they have a whopping 40 fuse attack power, which means if you fuse it to another weapon, they will add 40 attack, which is just ridiculous. However, they also have incredibly low durability. Of course, the way to take most advantage of this is with arrows. Fuse a Gibdo bone on an an arrow, and suddenly you have a silly high damage singular shot. Once you have 20 Gibdo bones or so, you're probably alright. Maybe go for 30 if you don't trust your aim quite enough. This is all just preparation for a specific fight though that is required for this method. So if you're far enough in the game already that you aren't scared of a boss fight, then don't worry about this farm that I'm talking about. From this point is where things get really fun. Those who played Breath of the Wild and went after the Master Sword in that game will probably remember that the sword was found in Korok Forest. Well, if you try to be cheeky and head immediately there in Tears of the Kingdom, they just kick you out. Whether you enter on foot through the front door or if you fly in from above, it just resets you back to where you were before you came in, because it's a weird creepy maze, almost as if there's some sort of curse happening here. That said, Korok Forest is still our destination today nonetheless, so we need to find the way in. That way starts southeast of the Korok Forest, with the closest fast travel point being the Iko-Chiu Shrine right over here. From here, travel north through Minshi Woods until you reach Minshi Woods Crater, which as you can see I have thematically marked with a sword. Dive into the crater all the way down to the depths under Hyrule, and give yourself a soft landing, of course, with the glider. You'll want to toss out bright bloom seeds as you're traveling so you can see what's going on, see where you're going, but for the most part you can just follow your map to the Korok Forest due to an interesting function of the minimap. If you check your map while in the depths, raise up the layer to check out the ground level, then exit your map, then the minimap will still be showing the ground level, and so it will show you the exact path to the Korok Forest that you can follow from underneath. Throw out the blight rooms in front of you, follow the path that I'm taking here exactly, aside from when I fall down a hill because I'm good at video games, and then you'll see a bright structure in the distance and a big pool of gloom in front of you. The best thing that you can do here is to give this gloom a really wide berth to the right, because if you get too close to it, a big nasty enemy of hands will spawn and that will beat the crap out of you if you let it. If you veer right enough though, it won't even spawn in the first place, so that's the ideal situation. Get to the glowing structure that you saw before. This is right under Korok Forest. You can use the ascend ability up here, but before you do, make sure to go grab the light root beside you so that you can have a fast travel point here in the depths for later if you want to come back. After that, ascend up through that middle section to Korok Forest. Trudge the shrine that's right beside you for another fast travel point so you don't have to run the whole way through the depths again, then head up into the Deku tree. You'll see a creepy, gloomy effect everywhere around here. That's because the Deku tree has been infected, and let's just say we're here to clear out 99.9% of bacteria. Proceed to the back of the Deku tree where you'll see a chasm. Prepare for a really nasty fight, save your game, put on all your nice equipment, then jump in. Immediately when you land, one of those multi-hand gloom enemies will spawn. Fuse your rubies or sapphires or whatever elemental ore that you have to your arrows and fire them at the group of hands for a massive AoE explosion that hits all of them. 4 or 5 of these arrows and you'll clear them out no problem. After that, a Phantom Ganon will spawn. This guy has a few attacks, not a massive amount, but all of them hurt like hell. One of them is just a standard frontal attack, one of them is a sort of forward charge, and one where he just sort of dissipates into mist and teleports next to you for a surprise attack. The main way that we're going to deal with him is, you may have guessed it, arrows. Arrows fused with Gibdo bones. Attach those bones and the arrows will do nasty damage to him. If you hit the boss in the head, you'll get a nice crit with it too, which not only does tons of damage, but also flinches any animation, including the charge attack, which actually makes this boss relatively easy to keep at range from you. Make sure to eat food whenever you get hit so you stay alive, and I'm warning you now, this may take a few attempts if you're going at it with only 4 hearts like I did, but it is still totally completable even with that amount of hearts, with some decent aim and decent dodging. Once you've defeated the boss, it'll drop a bit of loot for you, which isn't bad, and you'll be informed that the Deku tree has been cleansed. Teleport back up to the shrine that we grabbed before and go over to talk to the great Deku tree. He'll ask you about the Master Sword and mention that he can still feel its presence somewhere out there. Then he puts a marker on your map. If you watch it closely, you'll notice the marker is moving, and that's because, as we talked about earlier, the Master Sword is inside of a bloody dragon. This marker will give you a constant update on the positioning of the light dragon and thus the Master Sword itself. So just post up along its path in front of where you see it going, sit in front of a Skyview tower like I am, then fly up after when it gets near. Job's a good un. And that's it, really. That's how you get the Master Sword in Tears of the Kingdom, and how to get it relatively early in your journey at that. The only real requirement is completing 20 shrines outside of the tutorial area. Once you have it, it does pretty decent damage, somewhat comparable to about a 35 attack weapon before fusions, because yes, you can actually fuse things to the Master Sword in Tears of the Kingdom. The fusion ends when the Master Sword needs to recharge, or if the fused item breaks that's attached to it. But this is quite the really cool combo of being able to overlap this fusion mechanic with the frickin' Master Sword of all things. That covers it then today, everyone. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I hope you're looking forward to having a Master Sword of your very own in Tears of the Kingdom. Keep an eye on the channel, as we'll be releasing tons of Zelda content over the coming days and weeks, and let us know in the comments what specifically you'd like to see from us. Like if you liked the video, subscribe and hit the notification bell for more, and most importantly, ladies ladies and gentlemen, until next time, stay sweet.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.